The song about life, death, love, hate, wealth, poverty, racism. Just a few things been running through my head.
Attention projectionist. Adjust the lens so that your picture will be focused properly before the show starts.
This is a series about how Sigmund Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind have been used by those in power to control the masses in an age of democracy. Last week's episode showed how Freud's ideas...
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neil?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
When you speak of overthrowing those conditions, I think this is what frightens people from speaking of the average American. When you simply say the word overthrow, he sees this as something very, very bad.
I know exactly what you mean.
I know you're not responsible for his feelings. So when you say these things, are you threatening something?
Right.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Matrix.
Detroit in 42.
Do you want to know what it is?
New York in 64.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work,
White,
when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from it. What truth? That you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste.
Corruption and put up in its place an edifice
Before you were mine.
truth.
Unite in struggle, people's power.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is.
Unite.
You have to see it for yourself.
Unite in struggle, people's power.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
Meanwhile, uptown, the DJ Plea.
Everybody's so concerned about heroin and marijuana and all that until they forget the most dangerous narcotic that exists. And that's the narcotic that is injected into the minds of infants. It's called social narcotics.
Why don't you tell me a story? Please tell me a story, too.
You know, I think I'll tell you the story.
Tell me.
This is why I walk and talk this way. driving.
Jäätä, joulupukki tuli. Nyt on jäätä.
Oh là là, tous les cadeaux, ben voilà, c'est Noël, c'est comme ça. Voilà. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça? Attends, voir.
Ah oui, c'est possible que je te l'ai donné. Ouais.
Non mais c'est Minecraft qui voulait. C'est Minecraft.
Il m'a dit Minecraft.
Mais non, papa, c'est Minecraft. Mais où t'as trouvé ça? C'est pas possible. Mais non, c'est pas pareil, c'est un jeu vidéo, Minecraft. C'est pour les gamins. C'est pas possible.
When fascism comes to America, it will not be in brown and black shirts. It will not be with jack boots. It will be Nike sneakers and smiley shirts. Smiley, smiley. The fascism... Germany lost the Second World War. Fascism won it. Believe me, my friend.
Okay, now we're finally at the question, what is fascism? To me, this entire video has been answering that question so far. It's been answering what fascism looks like in theory, and it's been giving glimpses into what it looks like in practice. But now we're looking for something shorter. We're looking for something that resembles a definition. The most popular approach I see tries to define fascism by going into the details of fascist movements. So they might talk about say a charismatic leader, or a democracy being in trouble, or maybe something about late-stage capitalism, things like that. And at the risk of being rude,
what if capitalism's death wasn't a mistake or something that the ultra-wealthy were trying to avoid? What if the pesky burden of labor laws and taxation could be avoided by deprioritizing the goal of financial profit, or maybe even money itself? This video is going to explain or explore what I and an increasing number of economists think is happening or has already happened to capitalism. More importantly, I'm going to try to encapsulate the unsettling socioeconomic reality that we're living in, as so much has happened in the last decade that it seems foggy to us.
To me, that's obviously the wrong approach. We don't define any of the other major isms that way. We don't define liberalism based on, say, details of liberal movements, or socialism by details of socialist movements. So to me, we should obviously define it based on its core idea, and not the details of the movements.
Barely describe capitalism without mentioning its predecessor, feudalism. And feudalism was a power structure in kingdoms where wealth was defined by the control of land rather than money.
We had a king. I thought we were an autonomous collective.
You're fooling yourself. We're living in a dictatorship.
And for me, the gold standard here is Karl Marx's definition of communism in Communist Manifesto, where he says, the theory of the communists may be summed up in the single sentence, abolition of private property. Which then makes me ask, is there an idea or a set of words where if you heard them, you would recognize them as distinctly fascist? Since the 20th century, those words cannot be anything other than fascism. Because if that's the case, then I think that's a good starting point. And in my opinion, those words do exist. And those are the words.
We will make America great again!
What does MAGA mean to you then? So make America great again, what does that mean to you?
The America I grew up with. We want it back. We want people to stop censoring us. We want them to stay away from our Second Amendment. We want freedom of religion. So if you're a conservative, if you're a Christian, if you're white, if you're male, it doesn't matter what color you are. We want people to be respected for who they are. We don't need to have stones, infinity stones, because you're black, you're gay, you're trans. We just want everybody to be treated equal. And they're trying to say that we're the party of the racist party, when they're the ones actually wanting Jim Crow rules back.
Well, what?
Well, colleges, they want to have black and white graduations. They want to separate us.
Where do they want that?
What colleges? Man, look, okay, I don't know, Google it.
Make America great again. What does that mean to you? What's the again?
To me, the again means that we have somewhere safe where we can have those freedoms that we are so lucky to enjoy. There are so many people throughout the world that do not have what we have, and it is a blessing. It's why we have people that want to be here, and we will fully encompass all of that greatness again.
When did we last have it if it's again?
I feel like we did have that when President Trump was in office. I feel like we can work with what he built on in the first presidency and make it even better.
When he was running in 2016, it was before he'd even been president, but he was still saying make it great again. Again from when?
That is a good question. I would say if I could guess, it would be, and I think that they're very politically lined up, would be maybe with JFK. And when he was president, and what we embodied with some optimism and freedoms that we didn't have before, and trying to find that.
When was America last great?
4 years ago, or 3 years ago.
He was saying it before he got there. He was saying make it great again. So he didn't think. What did that message mean to you then?
I felt President Reagan was an excellent president too.
The price of even a small home could be $200,000. And what about their parents trying to make ends meet right now? To stop inflation, we've got to put a ceiling on federal spending. We've got to crack down on waste, and we must lower our tax rates to encourage individual productivity. In California, where I was governor for 8 years, we went from near bankruptcy to financial help. We gave the taxpayers billions of dollars in tax relief, and we met the needs of our people. If we're going to stop inflation, we must do it now, not with bigger government. It takes better government. That's what we owe ourselves and our children. That's why I'm running for president.
Only one man has the proven experience we need. Ronald Reagan for president. Let's make America great again.
Cities where they live. For those who've abandoned hope, we'll restore hope and we'll welcome them into a great national crusade to make America great again.
That together we can make America great again. I want to attack these problems and make America great again. People by running for president. And now you are being called upon, every one of you, to secure a better future for your children and your grandchildren and to make America great again economically, educationally, and socially. It's time for another comeback. Time to make America great again. I know Hillary's the one who can do it.
Paid for by Hillary Clinton for president.
I'm Hillary Clinton candidate for president, and
When I see the Make America Great Again, my comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist remark? And most people, a lot of people go, how could that be racist? Make America great again? I said, so just ask yourself from an African-American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African-American?
What do you think it means when you hear the words, let's make America great again?
I think America's pretty great. If somebody had told us 7 years ago that we'd get to this point, at a time when we were losing 800,000 jobs a month and the unemployment rate hit 10%, we wouldn't have believed it. But today, America's businesses are creating jobs at the fastest pace since the 1990s. America's workforce is growing at the fastest pace since the year 2000. It is showing the kind of strength and durability that makes America's economy right now the envy of the world, despite the enormous headwinds that it's receiving because of weaknesses in other parts of the world. In other words, the numbers, the facts, don't lie. And I think it's useful, given that there seems to be an alternative reality out there from some of the political folks, that America's down in the dumps. It's not. America's pretty darn great right now. Now let me just say, I know the other guys talks about making America great again. America's really great. And just the other day, somebody was writing about, wow, when you look at the surveys in the world, it turns out that when Obama came into office, the world didn't think we were that great. But now they think we're the greatest. But I do have a couple of suggestions that you may find useful as you go out there and conquer the world. Point number one. When you hear someone longing for the good old days, take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. We live in a great nation, and we are rightly proud of our history. We are beneficiaries of the labor and the grit and the courage of generations who came before. But I guess it's part of human nature, especially in times of change and uncertainty, to want to look backwards and long for some imaginary past when everything worked, the economy hummed, and all politicians were wise, and every child was well-mannered, and America pretty much did whatever it wanted around the world. Guess what? It ain't so. The good old days weren't all that good. Yes, there have been some stretches in our history where the economy grew much faster, or when government ran more smoothly. There were moments when, immediately after World War II, for example, or at the end of the Cold War, when the world bent more easily to our will. Those are sporadic.
Oh, it's not like it used to be.
Lord Keynes, welcome, sir. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure's all mine.
Your agenda.
That won't be necessary. I am the agenda. Tell them I've arrived.
And then tell them I've arrived.
And your name is?
Hi. Okay, here's the rats, and this is from Jaak Panksepp's work. He was the first guy who figured out that rats giggle. And you might think, well, what kind of stupid thing is that to study? It's like $50,000 research grant for giggling rats, you know? It's like... But he discovered the play circuitry in mammals. That's a big deal, right? It's like discovering a whole new continent. There's a play circuit in mammals. It's built right in, so it's not socially constructed. There's a biological platform for that. And so what Panksepp would do with rats, he found out if you take a rat pup away from its mother, it dies. Even if you feed it, even if you keep it warm, it dies. Now you can stop it from dying by taking a pencil with an eraser on the end and massaging it, right? Because rats won't live without love. And the same thing happens to human babies. And we saw that in Romania when there was that catastrophe after Ceausescu in the orphanages, where the orphanages were full of unwanted babies because Ceausescu insisted that every Romanian woman was constantly pregnant. So the orphanages stacked up with unwanted babies, and lots of them didn't even have names. And they were warehoused. Warmth, shelter, food. Devastating. Lots of them died. Until you've loved the love, you've had to love. Dysfunction. Because you have to be touched if you're a human being. It's not an option. You have to be played with. It's not an option. It's part of neurodevelopmental necessity. And you have to also play fair. So, because otherwise you produce a very disjointed child who isn't able to engage in the niceties of social interaction, which is continual play in some sense and reciprocity. So what Panksepp did with rats, he noticed that male rats, juveniles, really like to wrestle. And they wrestle just like human beings wrestle. They pin each other for crying out loud. It's like that rat just lost. He's down for a tail. And so what you do is you take juvenile rats and you can find out that they want to play. Because you don't know what love is. How motivated they are. And so you can find out that a nice, well-fed rat who doesn't have anything on his mind will still work hard to play to enter an arena where he's been allowed to play before. He'll work for that. So, yeah. So there's this interesting phenomena that's very characteristic of societies, I believe, pretty much everywhere it's being studied. Now, you can calculate an index called the Gini coefficient. And the Gini coefficient is a number that represents how much inequality of income distribution there is in a given geographical area. So you could calculate a Gini coefficient for a street or an area in a city or a state or a country. You can do it at all those levels. And what you find is, you always hear this idea that poverty causes crime. That's a classic left-wing idea, but it's wrong. It's seriously wrong, and it's importantly wrong, and it's definitively wrong. Not only that. So there's no argument about this.
So a final experiment that I want to mention to you is our fairness study. And so this became a very famous study, and there's now many more, because after we did this about 10 years ago, it became very well known. And we did that originally with capuchin monkeys, and I'm going to show you the first experiment that we did. It has now been done with dogs, and with birds, and with chimpanzees. But with Sarah Brosnan, we started out with capuchin monkeys. So what we did is we put two capuchin monkeys side by side. Again, these animals, they live in a group. They know each other. We take them out of the group, put them in a test chamber. And there's a very simple task that they need to do. And if you give both of them cucumber for the task, the two monkeys side by side, they're perfectly willing to do this 25 times in a row. So cucumber, even though it's really only water in my opinion, but cucumber is perfectly fine for them. Now, if you give the partner grapes, the food preferences of my capuchin monkeys correspond exactly with the prices in the supermarket. And so if you give them grapes, that's a far better food, then you create inequity between them. So that's the experiment we did. Recently, we videotaped it with new monkeys who had never done the task, thinking that maybe they would have a stronger reaction, and that turned out to be right. The one on the left is the monkey who gets cucumber. The one on the right is the one who gets grapes. The one who gets cucumber, note that the first piece of cucumber is perfectly fine. The first piece she eats. Then she sees the other one getting grape, and you will see what happens. So she gives a rock to us, that's the task, and we give her a piece of cucumber and she eats it. The other one needs to give a rock to us, and that's what she does. And she gets a grape, and she eats it. The other one sees that. She gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber. Tests a rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us.
Sometime I wonder just what I'm fighting for. I win some battle, but I always lose a war. I keep right on scuffling in this no man's land out here. But I know, yes I know, there must be a better world somewhere.
It's definitively wrong, not only that. So there's no argument about this, it's already been established. What causes crime, especially aggressive crime, is relative poverty. And relative poverty is not the same thing as poverty at all. It's seriously not the same thing. Poverty is when you don't have enough to eat. Relative poverty is when the guy next door has a much better car than you. So, and there's lots of relative poverty in the United States, and there's some absolute poverty, but even the absolute poverty in the United States is nothing like the absolute poverty, say, in places like India or in sub-Saharan Africa, where absolute poverty means you have nothing. Now, what's really interesting about the Gini coefficient is that if you go to places where everyone, roughly speaking, is poor, say by national standards, I think South Dakota was often used as an example, or maybe one of the maritime provinces, like Newfoundland, where there's low average income, but it's pretty flat distribution. There's almost no crime. And if you go to places where everyone's rich, then there's almost no crime. But if you go places where there are poor people and moderately well-off people and rich people, and the distribution is really steep, then the rate of aggressive behavior among young men, and it's usually within their own ethnic group, starts to skyrocket out of control.
The dusty plains of southern India are the venue for one of nature's most astonishing hunts. It's an unusual face-off. In one corner, the cobra.
What is up, Solo
In the other
Cubs?
corner,
My name
the
is John
mongoose.
Solo, and this is Messed Up Origins, the show where I take the tales you know and love from childhood and shed light on their messed up origin stories. Sometimes they're inspired by much older tales that are filled to the brim with violence and tragedy, so exactly the kind of thing you want your kids to be exposed to, and other times they're based on horribly depressing real-world events. Well, today's subject has a healthy balance of both, and that's because for the first time in almost 3 years, we're exploring a story contained in Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. Now, to clarify, I'm not talking about the adventures of Mowgli and Baloo. We covered that back in September of 2018, though I would love to dissect it again at some point, while still wearing the same shirt, of course. No, instead, we're talking about the second most popular tale that book gave birth to, Rikki Tikki Tavi, the mongoose who single-handedly fought a war against the cobras who were determined to murder his foster family and turn their garden into their new kingdom. I've gotta say that as far as fables go, this one might be one of my favorites that we've covered. Not only is Rikki amazing in his role as the guardian of the garden, but just like with Mowgli's adventures, Kipling's way with words makes the story come alive in a way that you just don't find with other folktales. He manages to pull those ancient archetypes that lie deep within our psyche and resonate with our souls right to the surface with his unique cast of characters and the conflict they all find themselves in.
Oh la la la, na 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 da, la 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 de, do do da de do da, oh na na na. Da 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 da. Well, better get into what you gotta get into, and you better get into it now, no slacking, please. For the United Nations ain't really united, and the organizations ain't really organized. 'Cause you rickety-tickety mongoose, and you don't know more, no more. On your rickety-tickety mongoose at your door. You won't be coming around for to kill your snakes no more, my love. On your rickety-tickety mongoose at your door no more. Everybody who saw the Jungle Book know that Rikki-Tikki-Tavi's a mongoose who kills snakes. And when I was a young man, I thought there were organizations to kill my snakes for me. I was told, i.e., the church, i.e. the government, i.e. school. But as I got a little older, I learned to kill my snakes myself. Oh, the more I read, sing oh na na mana, mana da.
And by the time the Soviet Revolution came around, which would be at the latter part of the 1910s, after the First World War, the peasant class had actually established farms, of course, varying productivity. Some of the peasant farmers were very, very good at being farmers and produced a huge proportion of Russia's and the Ukraine's food. Because one of the things, we'll talk about this later as the class progresses, one of the things that you'll find if you look at creative production in any domain, it doesn't matter, artistic domain, food production, novels written, novels sold, money generated, number of companies generated, number of goals scored in hockey, etc. Or number of paintings painted, number of compositions written, anything like that, where the fundamental underlying measure is human productivity, what you find is that a very tiny percentage of people produce almost all the output. It's called a Pareto distribution, P-A-R-E-T-O, and it was studied in detail in scientific productivity by someone named de Sola Price. It's a square root law, so here's the law fundamentally. If you look at the number of people who are in a given domain, who are producing in a given domain, the square root of the people produce half the product. So that means if you have 10 employees, 3 of them do half the work, but if you have 10,000 employees, 100 of them do half the work. Right? It's a very, very vicious statistic. And you won't learn about that in psychology for reasons I have no idea about, because you learn about the normal distribution and not the Pareto distribution. But Pareto distributions govern, for example, the distribution of money, which is why 1% of the people in the general population have the overwhelming amount of money, and 1/10 of that 1% has almost all of that. Right? So I think it's like the richest 100 people in the world have as much money as the bottom 2.5 billion. And you think, well, that's a terrible thing, and perhaps it is, but what you have to understand is that that law governs the distribution of creative production across all creative domains, right? It's something like a natural law, and we'll talk about that more, but imagine what happens when you play Monopoly. You've all played Monopoly. What happens when you play Monopoly? One person ends up with all the money, all right? Then you play another game of Monopoly. What happens? One person ends up with all the money. It's actually the inevitable consequence of multiple trades that are conducted randomly. So if you take 1,000 people and you get them to play a trading game, you each give them $100, say, or $10, and they have to trade with another person by flipping a coin. I win the coin toss, you give me $1, you win, I give you $1. If we all play that long enough, one person will end up with all the money and everyone else will end up with 0.
My next guest's most recent published work is his 221st book. I haven't written that many postcards. The book is entitled Enjoy Still Felt, an Autobiography. Welcome, please, Dr. Isaac Asimov.
Let's just spend a minute here talking about the fact that you've written 221 books.
So far.
So far. Is that compulsive behavior, do you think?
I enjoy it. You know, why not?
Sure.
But I say to myself, here I am, a handsome writer. Why shouldn't I write?
Yeah. What kind of schedule do you put in to write that many books?
I get up in the morning, sit down and write. When I finish writing, go back to bed.
Is there one particular work that's a favorite for you out of all of those publications?
Well, yes. The one you've got right there is the second volume of my autobiography. That and the first volume, you put them together, is my favorite book because it's my favorite subject.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. What would we need to know about you?
Well, once you've said 221 books, that's it. What else is there? I mean, if you sit down and write that, you haven't got time for anything else.
What are you working on now?
Several things.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of After School. My name is Greg Aldrete, and I'm a history professor who studies ancient Greece and Rome. Today, we'll be exploring the theories of the ancient Greek historian Polybius, who wrote about why civilizations rise and fall, as well as what explains the astonishing success of the Roman Republic. So, let's get started. Is every civilization doomed to rise but then inevitably fall? Is there some ideal form of government that will allow a civilization to avoid collapse? How can we explain why some civilizations flourish and expand while others stagnate or are easily conquered? These are vital questions that humans have pondered for thousands of years, and they remain urgently relevant today. They were also the exact questions that obsessed a man named Polybius, who lived in ancient Greece over 2,000 years ago.
What exactly does that mean to annotate the Bible?
Oh, well, you simply copy down all the verses in the Bible and you make little footnotes and say whatever you please about each one. And if you do it right, the annotations are longer than you're annotating. I've got a book coming out called In the Beginning, in which I annotate the first 11 chapters of Genesis. You get the first 11 chapters on Genesis, maybe 15 pages or so, but the book is about 200 pages long, counting my annotations.
Throughout history, humanity has witnessed countless political shifts revolutions, uprisings, and crackdowns. Often, these massive changes appear spontaneous, triggered by wars, crises, or threats, and followed by sweeping policies that restrict freedom, increase surveillance, or centralize power. But behind many of these moments lies a pattern. It's dark, but also not.
We live at a crossroads. There's no doubt. We all feel it. We all know it. I don't think it's the first time that mankind has stood at such a crossroads. But here we are now, facing it and hopefully dealing with it. I'm going to close with a reading from the Hermetica, from the Hermetic texts. Hermes was the Greek version of the ancient Egyptian god Thoth. The Romans knew him as Mercury. And in a dialogue, the Hermetica, many of them are dialogues between Thoth Hermes and various pupils of his. And in one called the Asclepius, a lament is presented. And it's like a prophecy. It's a bit like the Mayan prophecy. Egypt seems to stand as a metaphor for the whole world in this. And to my mind, for the world in our time, this lament, this prophecy is speaking directly to us. So it's Hermes speaking, and he's saying to Asclepius this: do you know, Asclepius, that Egypt is an image of heaven? Or to speak more exactly, in Egypt, all the operations of the powers which rule and work in heaven are present in the earth below. In fact, it should be said that the whole cosmos dwells in this our land, as in a sanctuary. And yet, since it is fitting that wise men should have knowledge of all events before they come to pass, you must not be left in ignorance of what I will now tell you. There will come a time when it will have been in vain that Egyptians have honored the Godhead with heartfelt piety and service, and all our holy worship will be fruitless and ineffectual. The gods will return from earth to heaven. Egypt will be forsaken, and the land which was once the home of religion will be left desolate, bereft of the presence of its deities. O Egypt, Egypt, of thy religion nothing will remain but an empty tale, which thine own children in time to come will not believe. Nothing will be left but graven words, and only the stones will tell of thy piety. And in that day, men will be weary of life, and they will cease to think the universe worthy of reverent wonder and worship. They will no longer love this world around us, this incomparable work of God, this glorious structure which he has built, this sum of good made up of many diverse forms, this instrument whereby the will of God operates in that which he has made, ungrudgingly favoring man's welfare, this combination and accumulation of all the manifold things that call forth the veneration, praise, and love.
Was that one should not debate fascists. People did not like that I said this. They felt that I was being a stinky boy, giving a stinky opinion. The threat, as I perceived it then, was that fascists would manipulate good faith debate in order to gain a platform, that they would weasel their way into the political mainstream by tricking their opponents into giving them free airtime and access to their audience by being deliberately provocative and sensationalist, that by treating their opinions like something we can debate in good faith, their ideas would become accepted as normal. So, do you see why I was worried about that now? Do you see what I meant about all that stuff I said? Got it in one, I'd say. That's the stuff that happened. Like all burdened with the gift of foresight, I watched helplessly as the world I envisioned came to pass.
So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America think about it.
Organizations to kill my snakes for me, i.e. the church, i.e. the government, i.e. school. But when I got a little older, I learned how to kill myself. I said, Riggy, mongoose is gone. Riggy, mongoose is gone. Won't be coming around for to kill you, snake no more, my love.
We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. God bless you and good night. I love you.
just can't find me. I guess I gotta look inside of myself some more. Oh, 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 inside of myself some more. Come on now. Oh, 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 inside of myself some more. Riggy-diggy-diggy, mongoose is gone. Riggy-diggy-diggy, mongoose is gone. Riggy-diggy-diggy, mongoose is gone. Riggy.
So there's this thing. It's called the theory of planned behavior. It started to predict an individual's intentions to engage in a behavior at a specific time and place. I don't know if you've been looking at your phones or looking at your screens, but careful with your info.
A lot of panic and fear about this talk. And not just for the normal reasons of public speaking, although that's there too. But it's also because I want to say something meaningful, and I've been overwhelmed by the enormity of what is happening right now. And there's a particular set of circumstances which have also been feeding into my confusion and denial. And that is because the last time that I stood on this stage, it led to a 3-year legal battle, culminated in London's High Court, in which it felt like I was on trial for my life, because I was. My career, my reputation, my finances, even my home was on the line. All because I came here to warn you that I didn't think democracy was going to survive the technology that you're building, however incredible it is.
Everyone wants to feel in control. In the same breath, they want to pay top dollars to be told what they like and what they don't. So it seems to me this confusion is a human error. We keep allowing this to grow. The machines are gonna win. I'm gonna be the first to say it.
That's right, she kissed the world and nobody liked it. I mean, this is such a weird time to be alive that the same day Katie girl bossed Too Close to the Sun, I got a notification on my phone from the LA Times which asked me, what's to stop Trump from exiling you to a foreign prison? Isn't that wild? Do you remember when phone alerts used to be like, people are mad at Miley Cyrus for shaking her ass? Now they're like, 5 helpful tips to save yourself from the gulags.
So I want to tell you about a book today. The book is called The Gulag Archipelago. You ready? The book is called The Gulag Archipelago, and it's by a Russian author, a Soviet author named Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was in the Gulag Archipelago concentration camp system for a very long time. He had a very hard life.
I know I speak in too many metaphors of turgid seas and rocky shores, so let me speak about this plain as day. Everything we've ever done, every race we've ever won has had lots of pain that came along the way. Are you willing to give up your coffee cups and infrastructure to make something so fleeting try to stay? Only when we drop the avarice of all the tech bros and the mavericks will we stay alive while swimming in decay. We might just be in a regress, we'll trim the fat and cut the excess when that righteous fire burns it all away. But I wonder if the plunder won't turn out to be a blunder when I'm left with no more words to say. Is that a forest through all those trees? Depends on how far the bastard sees, and you know I mean, you know who. Oh, when he finally finishes his grand plan and stands up upon the big grandstand, it'll be built with the blood and bones of me and you, and the weights of justice balanced. Will we look back like it was a dalliance at everything we had to do? Just take the you out of utopia, don't fear change like it's a phobia, and rewrite every fact you were taught was true. Value ignorance of the future, its volume might just mute your desire for what you thought you knew. If we can't embrace destruction of this oligarchic function and replace its face with something new, revolution's just illusion, evolution's the solution, but you only find it way downstream. Are we just too damn complacent to foster something so damn nascent, or do you not even know what that means? I'm tired of convincing cringing crowds who are wincing at my stupid words and lofty dreams. Maybe I should wrap this up like it's the last kiss of a fling with an aging beauty queen. I would tell that bitch to kick rocks and to pull up on her blue socks. She'd probably think I'm being mean, but it's the only advice I've got. Overdose and take the hot shot. You gotta kill yourself to become pristine.
Paco, conche tu madre, weón.
Está quedando grabado, yo, está quedando grabado, yo.
We are now in a state of a great deception, where facts are not facts and reality is perception. And everything you read on your feed is feed. And politicians cross party lines to keep us deceived, you see? Historically, black people have been traditional, but white Democrats say blacks have to be liberal. So we adopt the co-op trying to avoid a fall. But if you handpicked our choice, that's not a choice at all. And what about Republicans? They just want to divide us. Yes, they're racist too, but they don't pretend to like us. So we don't pretend to be friends and fester by their feet. The only thing worse than a wolf is one dressed like a sheep. So you can be a sheep and go sleep with the shepherd. But regardless of what you hide, they both support genocide. They both support assigned bills that kill black and brown children. Replace gravestones with luxury homes and buildings. It's gross how they netting in Benjamin. Search Yahoo for the brazen fundraising to push imperialism. They use a war machine that's worth trillions to colonize civilians and spread materialism. Remember 2020 when we was in isolation? Nobody could go to work, so the government had to pay us. Then they used our own trauma to play and manipulate us up until election day just to sway us in their favor. Basically made crime legal. And it's not the rich that suffer, it's only the disenfranchised people. To drive down the property value, ignite fear, buy it for cheap, then make a huge profit in 5 years. But there's a threat, Project 2025. We've been in the projects and still managed to survive. We've been marginalized and denied our rights too. So the things they scared of, we lived our whole lives through. They use black people like political ping pongs and parade out paid celebrities just to sing songs. It seems wrong, but the fear's intact, cause the puppet strings are green and there's a pact with the bureaucrats. They all follow that dogma to make Parma. They all have to answer to karma and big pharma. They all fall in line with the donors and lobbyists just to render private agendas so it's not so obvious. This is the modern day Roman Empire, controlling most of the map, but it still has to collapse. Land of the pill poppers, junkies, and meth heads. I think it's safe to say America's on her deathbed. Yo, bro. Come on, man.
Yo, bro.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I told y'all.
What the fuck are we doing here?
I told you, bro. I told
Yo,
you.
what the?
LockLyft, New York City, man. Come on, man.
This is not what I was expecting, bro. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but not this.